When a vault door swings open, you expect to find something inside. But during the massive cryptocurrency gold rush of the 2010s, a global fear of missing out pushed everyday investors to hand over their life savings to platforms that were entirely empty. News segments at the time constantly warned about shady internet hackers and phishing links. But if you look at the documented data, billions of dollars do not disappear because of simple password thefts. They evaporate through highly sophisticated, centralized corporate structures. Take FTX, for example. It was the world's second-largest centralized crypto exchange, processing billions in real trades. Yet extreme internal hubris and a hopelessly tangled web of corporate entities meant it collapsed inward almost overnight, wiping out massive sums of customer funds. Or look at the Canadian exchange, Quadriga CX. Investors traded actual assets there, but the entire system had a catastrophic single point of failure. When the CEO suddenly died, he took the only passwords for the cold storage wallets to his grave, permanently locking away $190 million. Then there was BitConnect. They guaranteed daily returns and used notoriously loud, aggressive marketing events to drown out any serious financial scrutiny. That sheer volume successfully blinded global investors to the glaring structural flaws in their lending program, until the math finally broke. FTX, Quadriga CX, and BitConnect devastated the market, but they all actually possessed real crypto assets, real trading engines, or real lending contracts that eventually failed. If you want to orchestrate a truly efficient, mass-scale digital deception, building a real platform that can break is a liability. To find the apex predator of digital fraud, we have to look past broken exchanges and failed ledgers. We need a case that defies the definition of a financial platform altogether. This brings us to OneCoin. It is repeatedly cited as the ultimate fake crypto exchange. Yet, if you open its books, you find a glaring paradox. OneCoin operated entirely without traditional exchange mechanics. The architects behind this operation siphoned billions of dollars from investors by completely bypassing the actual infrastructure required to trade or hold digital assets. In 2014, OneCoin marketed itself directly to the public as a revolutionary financial asset. Promoters pitched it in packed arenas as the inevitable Bitcoin killer, promising enormous returns for anyone willing to invest early. This diagram illustrates how a real cryptocurrency functions. Actual digital assets are secured and traded across a decentralized network. When a transaction happens, a massive web of independent computers updates a verifiable public ledger, so everyone can prove the math checks out. OneCoin completely removed that decentralized infrastructure. There was no public blockchain, no network of independent computers, and no verifiable math. They replaced the entire global web with a single, opaque database controlled entirely by the founders. They created a masterclass in the illusion of utility. Instead of selling a functional digital currency, they strictly sold expensive educational packages. These packages came with internal, meaningless tokens that only existed as numbers typed into an isolated website. Because they abandoned real exchange mechanics, they had zero technical limitations. They could infinitely scale their user base, generating new tokens out of thin air without ever needing actual market liquidity to back up the numbers on the screen. FTX built a massive, interconnected financial system that eventually cracked under its own weight. OneCoin bypassed that entirely. They built a highly resilient operation strictly focused on selling a pure, non-existent idea. A system like this survives by projecting the aesthetics of innovation. If you can make an operation look cutting edge on the surface, you can easily distract investors from the fact that there is zero mathematical substance holding it together. Whenever financial regulators or cautious investors asked basic questions about how the underlying blockchain functioned, OneCoin leadership deflected. They weaponized the inherent complexity of crypto jargon to make critics feel stupid, effectively hiding their missing ledger behind aggressive corporate doublespeak. They targeted a very precise demographic. They didn't pitch to seasoned tech developers. They marketed to everyday individuals who had watched early Bitcoin investors get rich, felt completely left behind, and were desperate for a second chance at massive wealth. Exploiting that intense financial desperation allowed the organization to operate massively in plain sight. People wanted the dream to be real so badly that almost no one successfully demanded proof of the underlying technology before handing over their money. Because there was no actual technology, There was no fragile financial system to experience a market crash or a liquidity crisis. The scam ran smoothly until the precise moment its architects physically vanished with the funds. The aftermath of the OneCoin blueprint left a massive crater. An estimated $4 billion permanently evaporated from the accounts of millions of victims scattered across the globe. Documenting cases like this reveals how modern scams operate. They achieve massive global scale by perfectly mimicking the visual language, branding, and vocabulary of real cutting-edge innovation. Look at this overlap. While traditional cybercriminals focus on system hacking, trying to break computer code, the most devastating digital scams rely purely on psychology hacking. They merge complex tech jargon with raw human desire to create incredibly scalable fraud. This is why relying on generic warnings about fake exchanges or suspicious links is incredibly dangerous. In a modern landscape, the definitions of financial platforms are constantly shifting, making it easy for bad actors to blend in. The ultimate defense mechanism requires looking incredibly closely at the mechanics. Before interacting with any digital asset, you must demand strong, documented evidence of real utility and entirely transparent, verifiable math. The most effective digital deception does not require building a rigged exchange platform or a faulty lending engine. It simply requires a system that successfully convinces millions of people to invest their life savings into an exchange that never actually existed in the first place.